Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, we're going to take a look at two more ships that were released as part of CitizenCon today. We have the Esperia Stinger Vanduul Replica Heavy Fighter, and we also have the new Gray's Market Shiv. It's kind of a kit bash of a Cutlass Black and a Valkyrie and some other things. So we're going to take a look first at the outside and inside of the Esperia Stinger, maybe fly it around a little bit, just kind of see how it feels, look at all the weapons and all that sort of good stuff, and then we'll take a look at the Gray's Market Shiv. So if you want to see a little bit of a first look at these ships, they are pretty cool looking from what I've seen, but we're going to take a little bit more of an in-depth first look here in this video, so let's go ahead and get into it. So, let's take a look at the outside of the Stinger. This is, I will say when I was walking up to it, it seems a little less wide than I thought it was, but might have just been the perspective I'd seen it from. From the front, it looks very, very menacing, as we can see here. We can see this, I believe, is the bespoke size 5 Vanduul kind of laser cannon, but you do have other weapons around here and on the other side, of course, that you're able to actually customize that are not bespoke. From what I've seen, it looks like the loadout is going to be that bespoke size 5 laser cannon, and then you have 4 changeable size 4 weapons, and then 2 changeable size 2 weapons, so that's a lot of firepower. And then additionally, it does have some bespoke missile racks up here in the wings. These are specific Vanduul missiles. I think they're called Bullet size 2 missiles, and you have 8 of those on each side for a total of 16. So you got a pretty good missile payload as well, and those do pretty good damage. So you got quite the weapons package on this. You can see here, this is the default paint, kind of like, I think, how it's supposed to look if it was, you know, from the Vanduul themselves. There are some other pretty cool paints that we might look at some point, maybe in another video. We can see the wings here. It's got this kind of bronzy metallic finish to it on a lot of parts. I am interested to see if there's any component access on the outside. I don't know that there will be because these wings aren't super thick or anything. So there might be some more for that on the inside of the ship. We have kind of a rib cage looking structure here. The ship does sit up a little bit higher than I thought it would. But I guess they need room to have that little ramp thing. So let's go ahead and deploy that. There's a nice little moving red light. That's pretty cool. Shows you where the ramp will go. And then that light moves up the ramp. That's pretty nifty. This underlying like skeletal organic structure on like the ramp and as you go up in here is really cool. So let's head up in here. And although this technically, I think, like it does have an interior, doesn't seem like there's a bed or anything. We do have, oh, this is a weapon rack. This is pretty cool. A little nifty kind of Vanduul organic styled weapon rack, so you got a little bit of space there. We do have a fuse box. Okay, so we should probably have component access. Let's go ahead and let's close the ramp. Maybe we go further back in the ship here, and that's where we can get to our components. All these little red lights are moving around as I walk through here. Let's see. Any obvious component buttons? Not seeing any. Anything up above us? Not really in terms of components, so maybe they're on the outside of the ship? Possibly. Interesting. Well, let's hop into the pilot seat, which kind of is a weird little roller coaster mechanism to get up in there. And then we'll take a little bit further look on the outside of the ship, see if we can see some component bays, and look a little bit more of the ship, and then we'll try out flying it. Ooh, now this cockpit looks very cool already. Let's power on the ship. We have a very cool kind of ornate HUD design here. I really like that. It looks kind of similar to kind of the purple holographic that the Vanduul have in their king ships. Kind of a similar style to that. Could see that having been moved over from Squadron. Let's check our power. So it looks like we have 3 coolers. I think from what I've seen, this has 2 size 2 shields. It also only has 2 size 1 power plants. So you are going to be probably lacking a little bit in the power department, especially if you want to fully power your shields and your guns and your engines. But we can go ahead and turn some of those off, give some more weapon power in there. But then, of course, we have no power for anything else. So, that is very interesting. But it seems like we have pretty good view out below and to the side decently. So, that's pretty cool. And I really like all these little detailed spike things that kind of stick out just a little bit past. And then let's see. If we look in third person, are there any obvious component bays or anything on the top here? I don't see anything like obvious. If we click open exterior, does anything open up on the top here? Doesn't look like it. We do have our ramp that opened back up, so I am wondering if this ship is even like gold standard. Like, it has that little fuse box right here, but there doesn't seem to be any component bays anywhere. So maybe that's something that still needs added. It's kind of interesting. I kind of wish that it would have the component base just to start out with, because then it, less work for them to do in the future. But looks like it might not have it right now. Now, I just turned off the music, and I'll boost the sound for you in a second here. But as I'm just standing inside the ship, there's a lot of like organic sounds, some very interesting sounds. So I'll just let it play kind of the ambience here for a second for you, and you can hear for yourself. Very interesting. It definitely gives the impression that the ship is like alive almost. So that's some very, very good attention to detail there. So now I would like to just go on a little bit of a test flight. So let's power on our engines. Okay. Oh, that has some cool sounds. Okay, well, let's fly it around for a minute, and we'll see how it kind of handles, see what kind of nice sounds it makes, and all that good stuff. Here's also a little bit of a sound test for that Wrath cannon. Might be able to hear that a little bit. Has a nice thump to it. That's, again, that size 5 bespoke laser cannon. Pretty cool. So now... Whoa. Now that... Very unique engine sounds when I'm boosting. You hear that? Wonder if these are sounds taken from Squadron, or if maybe they're a little bit different than what the Squadron ones would sound like. I wouldn't be surprised if they just took the Squadron sounds, but this is how they sound in Squadron. Sounds pretty cool. Got some nice thruster effects as well on the outside there. Yeah, this definitely a very mean and powerful looking fighter. Oh, I almost forgot I have the landing gear down. Let's take those up. Now we can fly a little faster. Look down. Again, we have pretty good downward visibility. You have your side visibility here. Upwards, yeah, it's okay. Not the greatest. But man, this HUD and this feel of this pilot seat is, I would say, very unique and very, very cool. Okay, well, there's a little bit of a pilot test. So now let's go ahead and land this, and we'll now take a look at the Gray's Market Shiv, which is technically a new manufacturer, but kind of a kit bash of ships. So let's go ahead and pull that up, and we'll take a bit of a look at that one as well. Alrighty, let's take a look now at the brand new Gray's Market Shiv. This is a new, I guess, manufacturer you could call it, but kind of a kit bash of some different odds and end pieces from different manufacturers. You can see the main body definitely has the kind of the outline of a Cutlass, but there are quite a lot of modifications made to this. As far as I know, this is actually a ship that we'll probably see in Squadron for a specific like gang or faction that kind of modifies ships like this, but now we get this brought over to the PU. So looking at the outside, you can see there's a lot of exposed mechanical stuff. There's these interesting engines on the side, which are definitely different. I don't think there's no engines on the side of the Cutlass here, is there? This is where that kind of the side door would be. So that's definitely a bit different. There's also no big kind of wing looking thing off the end here. Looks like that's just been kind of cut off right there. You can see, looks like maybe there's some remnant connectors for it, but that has been taken off there. Look on the other side, you can see a little bit of a look at, I don't know that those might be Ardor repeaters. They might be some other new gun. These are definitely a new, looks like ballistic type of gun. We might have to take a look at those a little bit further. If we look over here, anything else looks about the same, and then these big engines on the back looks like they can still rotate. These look more like Valkyrie engines that have just been bolted on there. So a very interesting and quirky look. So now let's take a look at the inside of the Gray's Market Shiv. This also has its own different little lever sort of thing. We'll open that up. And let's take a step inside. So this mostly looks kind of like a cutlass. We have similar wall paneling. It's a little bit more messy, I would say. You look around. No side doors again. There's probably, looks like you have some cargo space here. I think, from what I saw on the ASOP, it said 32 SCU of cargo. So I don't know exactly how that's going to be laid out. I would say maybe 16 boxes on each side here, but then you probably wouldn't be able to even get out of the ship. So that might be organized a little bit differently. We do have a fuse panel, although I have not seen any component access anywhere. So this may be another new ship that's coming in that does not have component access, unfortunately. Then let's go forward a bit more. We have a little bit different styled sort of airlock partition between the cargo bay here and the habitation area of the ship. This open, we have we have a bathroom, I guess, where there was a turret and there's not, but you do get a bucket, which is, I guess, an improvement over the Cutlass Black, so, you know, you have to give them that. So that's a very funny little addition for this ship. We do have fire extinguisher in the wall. We got our lockers. Those look the same. Although apparently these weapon lockers are like ripped out of a Crusader ship randomly, so that's a little bit goofy, but you just got some pieces of a Crusader ship in this, so that's a little bit odd. Then we have our engineering terminal, of course. You have your two beds, and we have some more exposed wires. I'm sure that's very safe and won't cause any harm or anything. And that's interesting. I think on the normal Cutlass, this area right here is open, like it's glass. But right in the Shiv, it appears to be covered up. So now let's go ahead and hop in the pilot seat and see how much this functions like a Drake ship, if it has the same voice or UI or whatever. Let's take a look. So let's go ahead and power on. So we do have the Drake voice, but the UI is green, whereas Drake is like kind of orangey brown. So it's definitely a little bit different UI coloring. I'm sure it functions the same and everything. Looks like we have one size 2 shield. We give full power to guns. Looks like you do get pilot control of that quad remote turret up top here. I'm sure if you had someone sitting in that co-pilot seat behind me, they'd be able to control that. So you do have control there. It's interesting. These guns sound and shoot like Panther repeaters, but they don't look like Panthers, of course. So that might be just a visual thing. They also don't seem to really be moving at all. So that might be some polishing that needs to be done. What about these breakneck bespoke, or not, maybe not bespoke, but new guns? There you go. Those just seem to be kind of a hodgepodge slapped together version of like a Revenant Gatling. They sound about the same, but they do have quite a bit of ammo. They had 3,500 ammo, which is almost double what the Revenants have. So that's actually kind of nice. I do have a little button for lights off and lights on. Is that for here in the ship itself? I checked on the outside and it didn't seem to change anything there. Lights on. Medium change, lights off. Yeah, there's some lights that kind of change a little bit, so there's a nice little thing. I don't, if that's in the cutlass, I've never personally noticed it. If it is there, make sure to let me know. And I just didn't know, but that's a nice little quirk. So now let's finish off by taking a little test flight in this, and we'll see how it sounds, if it sounds any different, how it flies, and all that good stuff. All right, let's power our engines on. It definitely has a unique engine sound. That is definitely not the engine sound of the normal Cutlass. Of course, we have Valkyrie engines slapped on. Although, if I toggle VTOL, they actually do not flip. So you don't have dedicated VTOL engines on this, whereas on the normal Cutlass you do have those VTOL engines. So that's one interesting thing to note. So let's take off. We'll just fly around for a minute, see how it feels. Now it's raining in Lorville, so we're going to be at like 5 FPS. It definitely, like the little metal rickety-rackety sounds that I'm hearing, you know, you got a lot of loose panels, a lot of loose wiring, so the sound kind of helps emphasize that. The engines are making all that move around. It does definitely sound quite a bit different than the Cutlass, to me at least, but it does sound good. It has some solid engine sounds, so I like it. The silhouette looks a little goofy, but I guess I'm just used to seeing a normal Cutlass, so it's going to look a little goofy, but it doesn't look bad or anything. It's just, you know, different, unique. But I think that'll do it for checking out some of these other new ships, the Esperia Stinger and the Gray's Market Shiv. I think my personal favorite out of these two is going to be the Stinger. Definitely has some very unique sounds, and it should be quite a heavy hitter. I'll have to do a little bit of testing with it in combat to see for sure, but I think with all those guns, it should be able to take on quite a good variety of threats. It'll probably be a really good option for PvE heavy fighters. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. If you have any thoughts on either the Stinger or the Gray's Market Shiv that you'd like to share, make sure to leave those down in the comments. Do you plan on picking up either of these ships? Is there anything in particular you'd like to see changed, or what do you think about CIG releasing these? Do you think it was a good idea? How do you feel about them not having component access? I personally am I don't really like that. Like I really prefer for all new ships to have their components. So if you have any thoughts on that, let me know. But if you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave it a like, as it really helps the channel. And if you want to see more Star Citizen updates, Citizen Con summaries, deep dives into all that sort of good stuff, then make sure you're subscribed. But that's going to do it for me in this one. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the verse.